Hi everyone, Phil from Tecware here. What's one of the biggest issues you get with a PC case? A lot of them these days look really nice. They've got glass fronts, sides, lots of RGB lighting and all these extra features. But one of the main things what any case needs is decent airflow so you can cool down your components. If your components aren't cool enough, what happens is the machine can potentially crash, run slower than it's supposed to do, or potentially mean the components won't live as long as they should. That's where this case from Tecware comes in. This is the Tecware Forge L. It's a mid-tower and it's got ARGB lighting on it. It's got 3 fans on the front included, as well as one on the back which are RGB, or ARGB should we say. It's also got a controller and it's got that glass window and lots of mesh fronting so that air can get in. So not only does it look good with all the lighting, it also cools really well. The recommended retail price of this is £95.99. If you are interested in purchasing, please click those links in the description below and help support our channel. Before we go on to the main video, if you would do us a favour, click that like button, subscribe, click the bell as well. That way you'll get notifications of new videos and live streams we do. Again, doing all these things helps support the channel, and helping to support the channel allows us to release more videos, better quality videos, and more content exclusively just for you. Okay, so we're looking at this Tecware Forge L, so I'm presuming that L stands for large, but we looked at the Forge M, which was the smaller model before. It's obviously a large MIDI style case. What's different about this case is it's focused on airflow. The M was as well, but obviously it was a smaller case. But what makes it so good is this mesh design on the front. So there's nothing really impeding it. There's no big bits of plastic in the way, which may look sometimes a little bit nice, but it can actually stop the airflow, which means that your components aren't going to get as cool, which is a bad thing, especially if you've got some really high-end components in there that can get hot. And because it's mesh as well, obviously there's no problem with sucking air in. But with the mesh design, it's sort of a diamondish shape, so it's got sort of like a strange effect on the front where it's sort of like domed, but each section has got like a shape to it, like triangles, diamond shapes and stuff like that, which means no matter what angle you look at it, the front will look slightly different, especially when the LED lights and stuff like that are actually working on the fans. Saying LED lights, it does come with 3 RGB fans, or should I say addressable, so ARGB fans on the front, which are 14 centimeters, as well as one on the back as well. And it does come with its own controller, so that means you don't have to mess about obviously connecting it up to your motherboard if you haven't got an ARGB controller on your motherboard. So it really means you could go for a cheaper motherboard, in all honesty, which doesn't have an ARGB controller, and that way you can still have all the lighting, and there's a switch on the top to change between the different modes. Obviously that's up to you. The fans run anywhere between 800 and 1800 RPM, so which is pretty good, and you've also got that tempered glass side as well, and because it's a tempered glass side, obviously you can see everything inside. But one of the good things about it is the thumb screws are on the back of the side panel rather than on the glass itself, so there's nothing getting in the way of your viewing pleasure, which is a big thing on a lot of cases. They have these big thumb screws what you have to unscrew here, which can be a bit of a pain, and it can also be a bit of a balancing act as well. So let's have a closer look at the case. As you can see, you've got that sort of a honeycomb diamond triangular mesh design on the front there. On the reverse side, well, it's just basic panel, nothing there really to see. On the back, here we go. So on the back you've got your fan there, you've also got where your motherboard I/O shield will go, and then you've got plenty of bays here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so it's 7 bays altogether for PCI cards and stuff like that. and obviously your power supply will fit in here. There's a bit of ventilation there. There's no option for vertical mounting though, unfortunately, but again, it's not everyone's ideal, especially if you're wanting high airflow. Vertical mounted GPUs can have restrictions, so that's always good to note. The top of the case, just to lift it up, as you can see, it has got that mesh top, should I say, which does just pull away, and that's where you would have your water cooler or fans at the top if you wished. You do have several buttons. You've got power, reset, you've got LED, which is going to be for your addressable RGB lighting. You've got two USB 3 sockets, as well as a headphone and microphone jack as well. So that's pretty much it for the outside of the case. Let's open it up and see what we've got inside. Okay, let's just go through a few other specifications, just in case you want to know. We'll put them in the notes above and everything so you can see it on the screen. But the clearance for the GPU, the maximum GPU, that's your graphics card length, is 385 millimeters, which should pretty much cover most things on the market. The max CPU cooler height is 170 millimeters, so just watch out for that. If you have got a cooler which is very tall, you may potentially struggle. And the max PSU, that's your power supply length, is 277 millimeter, and that's without the hard drive cage. Radiator support on the front, you can support 120, 140, 240, 280 or 360 millimeter radiator, and on the top you can do a 120, 140, 240, 280 and 360. Again, as we said, the buttons on there, you've got power, reset, LED lights, you've got two USB 3.0 ports and a microphone and headphone socket, which gives you a rough idea. So let's have a quick look inside and see what we've got then. First of all, let's take off this off the glass. There we go. So I know some of you like peeling those bits off. But let's take the rest of the screws out so we can see what's inside. I'm going to take both panels off, and they are in quite firmly, and there does seem to be a slight ledge on the bottom to stop it just falling, but it's not, let's just say, like gripped in or anything, so just do hold on to it tight when you are taking this off. There's also another piece of plastic on the inside of the glass as well, which I'm going to peel off now. There we go. I'm going to put the glass out of the way. There's no soundproofing or anything on the glass like that. It's pretty much just glass, and it does have a slight black border around it. I've taken the screws off the other side as well, and this one just pulls off as well. So let's have a look on the inside, what we've actually got inside here. So this is the first time I've been in this case, so let's have a look. So first things you can see, you've got those three fans on here. So Omni, I think it's pronounced. Fans which are RGB, and then you've got the one on the back as well, which is RGB. The one on the back though does look smaller. I'd say that's 12 centimeters, where the ones on the front are 14. You have got quite a few holes in here to put your cable in as well. These two have got rubber around them to protect the cables, but you do have holes at the top of the motherboard as well, which is good, ideal for feeding through cables from your coolers, water coolers, power supply and stuff like that. You do have a shroud which is built in to the casing, so this can't be removed for your power supply, but it does have a window in, so if you have got a decent power supply, you can put it in there and you can see the name there. Only catch is, if your power supply is rubbish or unbranded, it's going to basically show it, but hopefully you won't be doing that in the case of this value. The shroud does go all the way across. It is sort of honeycombed or meshed on the top, so air can get in and out with ease, and there are some nice holes in there as well to route your cabling through, which is always good. And there's also a big hole here, which is, well, you can use for cabling if you wish, but it's mainly if you had a radiator along here, it gives you enough room to fit it. So that's pretty good as well. So next up, you've got a big hole here. That's so you can access the back of the motherboard where the CPU is. so you can fit any type of cooler you want with ease without having to take the motherboard out, which is ideal if you like changing your coolers a lot. Otherwise, that's pretty much basics for the inside from that side, or at least what you can see. And as you can see, there's no cables in the way either, so there's no cables stringing across here or anything. It does actually look nice and tidy, with the only exception of cable, which is from that back fan. But there's not much you can do really regarding those back fans, so the cables have to go somewhere. Right, let's have a look at the other side. So here we go. This is where all the cables can be seen, and as you can see, they do a pretty good job of hiding it. So you've got all your cables obviously from your USB, your reset, your power, and your LED lights as well. They're all here, they're all velcroed in as well, so you can velcro your own cables in. I'm going to undo that velcro, so I'm going to make a bit of a mess now, which is there. And oh, there's another one there, so there's 3 bits of velcro all together. So that's all your cables there. The first cables are your USB 3.0 and your audio. Guys, why have we got rainbow coloured audio cable here? That's a no-no. That should be totally black. Even if you paint it or put something over it, it needs to be booted or something. I hate multicoloured cables, because you go and plug that into your motherboard, it's going to look a bit of a mess, because even though it's all this has been hidden, what's black, this bit what's multicoloured is not going to get hidden, which is not going to look the best, unfortunately. So please get rid of those mustard and ketchup coloured cables, please. USB 3 is fine, as well as your power reset switch and LED switch, sorry, LED lights are all fine as well. So that's the only negative there, is that multicoloured audio. I see some cases that do it, really cheap ones, they're all black, and then more expensive ones that go like this. Not sure why. All manufacturers are guilty of it, in all honesty, but it's something I complain about on pretty much most case videos. Okay, so inside here you have got your controller here. This is where all your RGB lights actually plug into, and you do have room there to add another ARGB one there and another one there as well, and you've got some fan headers on this side as well, so you've got enough room there to add plenty of fan headers as well as RGB, or should I say addressable RGB devices to it. So you can add 2 more addressable RGB. No, I tell a lie, there's another 2 at the top. So you can add another 4 addressable RGB devices, as well as looks like another 4 fans, or possibly 3 fans that might connect up to the motherboard. But yeah, you've got the options there. So at the bottom you've got a power cable, that's for power in the controller. You've got a fan connector as well, that'll connect it up to the motherboard, so it'll sync with the motherboard. And then you've got an addressable RGB cable as well, which you can plug into your motherboard if you wanted to control the lights via that as well. So inside here we do have a hard drive tray at the bottom, which looks like supports 1 hard drive. It does have a few cables and stuff like that. There doesn't seem to be any manual or anything in here though. Let me just double check the box to make sure I didn't leave it in the box. Just bear with me 1 second. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be a manual unless it's on the bottom for any reason, which we'll get to in a few minutes. No, nothing there. So you've basically got the hard drive bay. You can screw in a traditional hard drive, 2.5-inch hard drive or SSD, that's up to you, and you've got plenty of screws as well as a few cable ties in there as well, which is good. Obviously your power supply will slide into there. Obviously you want the fans ideally pointing the correct direction, because a lot of people get them the wrong way. They want to be pointing downwards, the fan on the power supply, because that means it's getting its own fresh air from the bottom of the case and throwing it out the back. We'll come to the feet in a minute and the clearance on the bottom, but otherwise that's pretty much it for the back of the case. So there's plenty of room there. A couple of things to note: you do have room for 2 2.5-inch bays there. Those basically just screw onto these plates, as you can see there. You'll screw that on the SSD onto here, or a 2.5-inch hard drive, and then it just fits on there like that. I don't know if I can get it right. And then you screw it back in, and then your hard drive or SSD will be facing here. So you can support 2, from what I can see, SSDs or 2.5-inch bays, and then either another one on here which slots into there, into the caddy, or a 3.5-inch bay. So depending on how you want to add it up, but you can do at least one 3.5-inch bay or 3 SSDs. Again, most motherboards these days have NVMe drives as well, so you've got more room for that depending on your board. But otherwise, that's pretty much it. Clearance wise, there is a big bit of clearance there, so there's a good, I don't know, a thumb's width of clearance there for doing your cabling. So there shouldn't be any issues cabling in there at all for you. So I can't see why anyone would struggle getting the cables fitting in there. Let's just have a quick look at the bottom though. It does seem to have 4 feet on the bottom. The clearance isn't that high, so bear in mind if you're putting this on a floor, and I advise this with most cases anyway, is I suggest you have a flat surface floor, which means not carpeted and definitely not a thick carpet, because what that'll do is the thick carpet will come up around the edges and you won't get any airflow in the bottom, and that's where your power supply is going to be sucking its air from. And the last thing you want to do is block the power supply getting air, because it's going to overheat and then suddenly go bang. And unfortunately that happens quite often. On the bottom of the case though, next to the feet, as you can see, you do have a mesh bottom. It is one what's clipped in, unfortunately. I'm not a fan of these ones. Don't get me wrong, they're better than nothing. But the problem with those, they can be a pain to get off. So if you want to clean it for any reason, you've basically got to turn your case upside down, unclip it, and then try and clip it back into these little clips here, which can be a slight pain, to be honest with you, when you've taken the whole thing off. I prefer the ones which are sort of on a plastic tray, where you can just pull it out from the back or the front of the machine and clean it and push it in, and it doesn't affect the machine. You can even do it while the machine's on. In all reality with this, you've got to turn the machine on its side upside down, which could even be potentially a problem if you're using something like a custom water cooling setup or something like that. So, but again, better than nothing, but I would prefer either a magnetic version like they do on the top, or something with strips on, so you can pull it out and then slide it back in. But otherwise it's still not bad. So looking at the case as a whole, it's got everything you pretty much want in there, to be honest. It's a good build, it's solid, there's no flex in it. You've got that nice mesh front, which we're going to do a few tests on in a few minutes. So it'll suck in all the air you potentially will ever need. You've got the glass panel, so you can see everything in. It's got its own controller for the RGB lighting. It comes with 4 RGB fans already. So normally you're buying 4 RGB fans and a controller, you're looking at 50-60 quid. So you could say you're getting all that, and then the rest of the case is 40 quid. If you see what I'm getting at, it's for its price, it's pretty good. Tecware are probably not the most known brand, but what I've seen of the products they've been bringing out good quality stuff at a good price. Don't get me wrong, there might be 1 or 2 other manufacturers out there with a slightly better feature list, but this has got everything you're pretty much going to need in a case what you want to light up and look good and have really good airflow. Okay, sound tests first. So how loud is the case with all the fans running? Well, the fans are running at auto at the moment, which is usually around about 20-30% usage or speed, because the machine is not doing anything. And just to give you an idea what it sounds like, and this is also with a 3070 graphics card, the power supply, as well as a Be Quiet cooler. And as you can see, it's barely audible over room volume, so you should be alright there. It's not very loud at all. Now if I adjust the fans, so they're going to be on 50%, so that's every single fan on there running at 50%, you'll see the difference. So just bear with me 1 second while I load the profile. So this is what it sounds like when all the fans are running at 50%. To give you a rough idea. Sorry for getting in the way of the camera, but it's so you can obviously hear from the microphone how loud the case is. And again, it's not too loud, but it is audible. Now if I change the fans to running at full, so this is if you've got the machine running full whack doing something and it is getting really hot in there, this is the sort of temperature or the sort of volume it's going to make. And as you can see, it is quite loud, but then again, I don't know any case which isn't audible when the fans are all set to full. Bear in mind, that's not just the case fans, that's the CPU fan as well, what's running at full whack. Okay, now we're doing a really scientific experiment. We are checking the airflow, and we're going to use all sorts of special tools to do that. Well, not so special, but basically what we're going to do is make smoke and check to see how it sucks it in. And obviously the more smoke it sucks in, the better the airflow. Currently we have the fans set at 50%, but as you can see here, it's sucking the smoke in. No matter where I put these joss sticks, the smoke is basically getting sucked in those front fans. That's showing that this case has got extremely good airflow, and that's because there's nothing blocking the air getting in. This mesh basically lets all the air in possible, and there's nothing else behind it blocking it other than the fans, which are obviously sucking it in. On the top we haven't got anything attached to the top, so no fans or anything like that, so it's not going to affect it too much. So what I'm just doing is testing the actual airflow for how the case comes as standard without adding any extra fans other than what's needed inside the machine for a PC to be running. And as you can see there, wherever you put these joss sticks, the smoke on them basically gets sucked in without an issue. And just to show you why the airflow is so good on this case is, well, if you remove the front, which you can do by just pulling at the bottom, it will pop off. And as you can see, this is the mesh front, and as you can see through that. There's not much blocking the air, which is pretty good. And it's not one of these cases where it looks like it's mesh and then it's plastic behind it and it's blocking it. This is full mesh, and straight behind it you've got those fans. There's no dust filter or anything behind them though, so bear in mind if you're one who's got a lot of dust, you may potentially get a bit of dust what gets brought in from the mesh, what's smaller than the mesh holes, into the inside of the machine. But generally, in most cases, that should stop most stuff without any problems. And then you've got those three fans, 1, 2, 3, and they're cased sort of on the outside of the case, so they're pushing right against this mesh, so they're sucking everything in, which is ideal. And if you want a really high airflow case, something that's going to keep you cool, this is the sort of design you want, and this is the sort of case you want. Okay, sorry for the handhold photography on this bit. I just want to show you basically what the case looks like from the front, or what the front looks like at different angles. And as you can see, that patterned effect on the mesh does make the fans look slightly different depending on what angle you're looking at it from. To give you a rough idea, obviously if you're looking at it straight on, they'll light up absolutely as you would think. But if you look at it in a slight angle, you will find that it causes sort of like a pattern effect to the actual lights, just to give you a rough idea. You'll see more of it on the B-roll in a few minutes. But otherwise, the fan on the back, because you're just looking for a plain glass window, you will find that it just looks like a normal LED fan. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the lighting effects this case actually has. Now, obviously, you can connect it up to your motherboard, as in the controller, which controls the lights, and that way you can adjust the lighting via your motherboard. Obviously, the settings on your motherboard will differ depending on your motherboard, but make sure you have got one of those addressable RGB headers on your motherboard to do that. If you don't worry, there is a switch on the top which you can use to control the lights. So all you do is press the LED light on the top, and as you can see, the effect has changed. And again, press it again, it changes to a different effect or colour, and then you just keep pressing it until you get the, well, effect or desired effect you wish. And as you can see, there's quite a few different variations. I'm not going to go through them all because I'll be here all day. But as you can see, you can have static colours, you can have rotating colours, you can have rainbows effects, you can have fading colours. you name it, there's pretty much everything under the sun there. It just depends on exactly what you want for your design. So you can have, for example, that rainbow effect there. And again, you can have this sort of a wagon wheel effect. I'm not sure what the exact name is for that, but as you can see, it cycles through the colours. There's another one there, and so forth. There's that many different options you can go for. But again, if you do have a motherboard which has an addressable RGB header, you can connect it up to that and then control the lighting via that, and then sync it with other things in your machine like RAM or CPU fans and so forth if you wish. But bear in mind, the controller does have also additional room on there for you to plug in more addressable RGB devices, so LED strips, more fans and so forth. So you could control everything through the button on the top and not have to worry about installing some third-party software from the motherboard manufacturer, which can be a little bit iffy and a bit of a pain to mess around with. And it can also slow your machine down because it's another thing which has to run on your machine in the background. So you may prefer just to use the button at the top. Most people, generally when they get a desired colour or style or effect, they generally stick with that for quite a while. So do you necessarily need all this software slowing your machine down? But here you go, gives you a rough idea, and as you can see, there are multiple effects available. Thank you for watching this video, everyone. It's really appreciated you made it all the way to the end. Please make sure you subscribe, like, comment, and even click that bell so you get notifications of new videos and live streams. It does help support the channel, and supporting the channel basically means that we can release more content for you and also better quality content going forward. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.